Hi, this is Katie with Happy Hearted Watercolors. We're back with part 2 of the sunset reflection. The questions that we've been asking ourselves is how do we create a smooth graduated wash, which we did. You can see it here with our first sample. And watch part 1 if you're not sure how to do that. We're now at the next step of creating mountains in the distance, and with each object that's closer to us, we're making it a little bit darker. So here is our sunset. I've also prepared the black that I'm going to use for the mountains, and you can see it here. I'm adding a little bit more water to my brush each time I go into the paint or into my paint because it's not dark enough. You can tell because I can see the yellow through. But I want this to be lighter than the areas that are closer to the viewer. The reason that would be is because the farther things are away, the more the atmosphere gets in the way of what we're seeing. And I need to be very careful here, going through, making sure I don't paint over the where it's supposed to be reflecting. In this red that I'm going right along is some water that's being reflecting the sky. Now I knew that this was dry and I could start painting my mountain because it was warm to the touch, not cool. If it's cool, that means there's still water on it. Notice I'm going to be tipping this board a little bit as I'm working so that the paint goes down to one area and I don't have little blooms. And again, this is paper that I've never used before, so I'm experimenting. And because I've done this a lot, I can maybe make it work, but I really recommend you use arches because it really is so easy to work with. Now I'm going to paint the closest thing to us, and I'm dutching my paint into my prepared paint, but then I'm also touching my paintbrush into the pan of paint so that I get a nice dark, and I just did the wrong thing, darn it. Okay, we're gonna have to get clever here. Okay, I'm gonna go up here. Well, here's how to make your painting work even when you make a mistake, because when you're talking, things don't always go like you planned. I'm really having to think through this, so sorry about that. You're going to get the idea because you're going to have marked your paper with little X's where you're going to be painting, and I was so busy talking and chatting that I didn't pay attention to that. This is going to be water right here, so I'm just going to make a little shoreline. And then I'm going to pretend like we've got a little bit of a rivulet coming in here. Like that. We'll just pretend like that's it. Okay, again, just pay attention to what I'm doing rather than talking. Oftentimes my demonstration pieces don't turn out because I'm so busy chatting. Now this I'm hoping is going to dry. And if it doesn't, I'm going to blast it with a hair dryer. This part right here, because I want to make this mountain here half as dark as this, but not as light as this part here. So that's what our goal is. Okay, so we're going to stop there and feel this with the back of our fingers, and it still feels very, very cold. So I'm going to quickly grab my hair dryer, and please turn your video off because it's going to be loud. And I don't know that I can turn mine off. So here we go. Turn it off. Now, did you notice how much lighter this became just in the few seconds that I dried that? That's because watercolor will dry about 40% lighter when it's dry because the water's evaporating out of it. And now we're ready to start with this mountain here that's in the mid view, midground. We've got the background, the background, the foreground, and the midground. And it's going to be a little bit darker than the background and not quite as light as the foreground. So we're going to try to make this smooth by going one stroke over everything. This brush that I'm using is called an oval wash, but it's also called by many manufacturers a cat's tongue, and it's just a great brush because it's got a big belly and holds a lot of water, but you can go very tight into little teeny tiny spaces, almost like a liner brush. So you've got really tight little places, and then you can make it really big by pushing on the belly. See how great that is for this kind of a situation? And you'll notice, especially as I get down here into this skinny little spot here, this little spit here, I kind of like that. Makes it look really neat. And then there's another little spit right here. I'm going back in and getting some water from my little palette lid, and then some paint from my palette lid, and then some paint from my pan of paints. I'm using Yarka paints right now, and I really like them. They are a Russian-made paint and are a very good quality for the price. So as of right now, in February 2021, they're not available very easily. So you might have to work kind of hard to find it. And I don't have a recommendation of where to go if you can't find them, because for this pan of paints, and I've added a blue at this one end and a yellow, a warm yellow at this one end and a warm blue at this other end, because the pan didn't have that, and I like to have a blue, a warm of each primary color and a cool of each primary color, because when you mix a red, warm red and a warm yellow, you don't get the same orange as you would as if you would do a cool red and a warm yellow, or vice versa. Okay, we're going to have to quickly dry this off with the hairdryer, so get ready to turn your volume off. This isn't the best thing to do, but I'm just experimenting with this paper. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna show you 1 or 2 trees here, and then I'm gonna turn the video off and then put the other painting back up for you to see, because I want our video to not take 49 hours to load onto YouTube. So here we go. And I call this Scrubbledy Doubledy. And these are Douglas firs, which is the Oregon State tree. So I love to make those in my paintings because I'm an Oregon girl through and through. And you'll notice that there's air or light showing between some of the branches. And it really, you'll do it and think, oh, that looks silly. But then when you look at it later after it's dried, it's really pretty. So don't worry if it doesn't look quite like you thought it should, because when you get back to it later, you're gonna think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I painted that. So here we go down, and scrubbledy doubledy, wiggly wiggly squiggly, wiggly squiggly, making this wider because this tree is the closest to us and it's biggest. And so I'm just gonna go directly down and just kind of do some wiggly squigglies here, because we're gonna pretend like the water is, you know, a little bit rustled, and I'm gonna come down here and do a little bit more. Okay, there we go. I'm going to stop now and wish you good luck. And here we have the finished product. How you magic. Okay, thanks, bye.